Arjuna's sorrow is your sorrow. Arjuna's sorrow, the subject matter of the first chapter, is the sorrow of any jiva, individual, one who is subject. That Arjuna was sad in non-confusion. We are all this sorrow seems to be very legit. We can well appreciate and sympathize with Arjuna because for much lesser reasons is desirous of getting rid of sorrow is also obvious. Dr. Brahmara, are you reading? Oh.
No, I'm not.
What is significant here is that
I think you played the previous video, maybe. That's why it's showing up. Um,
What is the reason we have a Gita Shastra?
I am not reading. I think it is the. Are you playing the YouTube video, the previous one? You can start.
You can see my screen. Hello?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, sorry. I just started the prayer song and I wasn't sure of the immediately some other thing came up.
Please go ahead.
Om Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinamaditvaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadasivasamarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudiraye. We are supposed to read from what is deserving grief, right? One second, let me say that verse first and then I can start with this. Shri Bhagavan Asociyan Anvasocastvam Pragnavadam Chapashase Gata Sunnagatam Agataschumcha Nanusoshanti Panditaha. So we are starting from Arjuna's sorrow is your sorrow. That's what you read yesterday, right, Dr. Brahma? What is deserving of your grief?
Yes.
Yeah, sources of sorrow. I think. Okay, I'll read the last paragraph and we'll go from there. Arjuna's sorrow is your sorrow. Arjuna's sorrow, the subject matter of the first chapter, is the sorrow of any jiva, the individual, one who is subject to sorrow. That Arjuna was sad is not unusual. In fact, we are all with Arjuna. His sorrow seems to be very legitimate. If this situation could not cause sorrow, what could? We can well appreciate and sympathize with Arjuna because of much lesser reasons. We find ourselves in even deeper trouble. This is the condition of the jiva. That the jiva is desirous of getting rid of sorrow is also obvious. Generally, people seek relief through escapes. What is significant here is that Arjuna wanted to resolve the sorrow for good, which is the reason we have a Gita. Gita Sastra. Gita Sastra. Gita Sastra. Arjuna was told straight away by Krishna, "You, Arjuna, grieve unnecessarily." Over the shoulders of Arjuna, you too are being addressed. You too have entertained sorrow, the state of mind known as shoka. So the next one is, what is deserving of grief? Chocha is that which deserves grief. Chocha is that which deserves grief. That which has legitimate basis for sorrow. In the society, we have universally accepted that certain events are matters for sorrow, while others are not. For example, when someone is about to be married, we do not send condolences, we send congratulations. Marriage is a matter of joy, matter for joy and laughter, not for sorrow. This is the case in any culture. For a death, on the other hand, even when there is relief involved, because the person was suffering extreme pain and required constant care, there is at least a tinge of sadness when someone dies. Therefore, death is synonymous with mourning and can be called socha universally. There is also personal socha. You may be sad because of something that has come or gone, whereas another person may not be sad at all. A man may be very happy that his mother has come. A man may be very happy that his mother has come, whereas his wife is a pack of nerves. For him, the event is not socha, but for her, it is a great socha. Because this woman has walked into their home, one person becomes a pack of nerves, the other is ecstatic because he can show off his accomplishment to his mother. The event is the same for both of them, but for one person it is socia, socia, and for the other it is asocia. Thus, we find that some things are socha universally and others are socha only for an individual. Culturally, there may also be peculiar situations that are sochas. In some cultures, the birth of a girl is socha, whereas in other cultures, the birth of a boy may cause sorrow, since too many boys are definitely a problem. Thus, an object of sorrow, soka, is called sochya. Just as an object of knowledge, jnana, is called jnaya. An object of sorrow means a situation that causes sorrow, be it an event or an experience. A situation that does not cause sorrow is called asochya. Here, so a situation does not cause sorrow is called asochya. Here, here Krishna's contention is that whatever may be the What situation, right? 175. Gosh, always having a problem with the page. Mm. 1 second. Mm. Okay. But I was reading about the grieving. I forgot this one. Lift my grief, yeah, I had to start from this page here. Situation, you have no legitimate reason for grief. In the coming verses, he will establish that there is no legitimate cause for sorrow, both from the relative and absolute standpoints. So you have no legitimate reason for grief. In the coming verses, he will establish that there is no legitimate cause for sorrow, both from the relative and the absolute standpoints. Mm. So the wise do not grieve. Here, here Krishna told Arjuna that he had picked up sorrow. He picked up sorrow. Sorry, let me enlarge this page. Here Krishna told Arjuna that he had picked up sorrow where it was not warranted at all, and that people of knowledge, Panditas, do not entertain any grief. Panda means self-knowledge, and a Pandita is one in whom self-knowledge is born. So Pandita is one in whom the self-knowledge is born. Krishna also acknowledged in this verse that although Arjuna was grieving over that which did not deserve any grief, he had also spoken the words of wisdom. He had spoken the words of wisdom. Krishna acknowledged in this verse, although Arjuna was grieving over that which did not deserve any grief, he had also spoken words of wisdom. Bhagavan remembered all of Arjuna's words from the first chapter when he spoke so eloquently about who would go to Naraka and why the Dharma would be in trouble, etc. While acknowledging the wisdom of Arjuna's words, Krishna told him that people of wisdom do not grieve. Arjuna was not a wise man, and that was his whole problem. Krishna knew that all he had to do was make Arjuna a Pandita so that he would not see a problem where there wasn't one, as he was presently doing. The sorrow itself was unwarranted, which was why he was aggrieved. The sorrow itself was unwarranted, which was why he was aggrieved. Right. With reference to what do uh, with reference to what do the wise not grieve? Lord Yama, death can interfere at any time. There are many breaths, and any one of them could be the last. Right. One breath alone does not last for 80 years. Between every inhalation and every exhalation, there is a gap. Therefore, how do you know which breath will be the last? Only when the next breath comes do we know that the last breath was not the last. So this is about how why the wise not grieve. So they gave example of Yama and that nobody can predict when Yama would come. So how are you talking about the breath is the way to assess this last breath. The verse makes a distinction between one who has breathed his or her last and the one who has not. So the verse makes a distinction between one who has breathed his or her last and one who has not. Men of wisdom do not entertain any grief either for the dead or for the not yet dead. Why was the death referred to here? Because all of Arjuna's argument it revolved only around death. He was always talking about the imminent death of his teachers and members of his family. Destruction was involved because there was a battle ensuing. This was one reason. In addition, death is only event that universally evokes sorrow. We would never send condolences to the bereaved unless we knew they were sad. On the other hand, if the survivors are sometimes happy, we would not automatically send condolences. We would have first found out whether they were sad or not, and if not, if they were happy, we would have to send messages of congratulation. Without even a thought, however, we all send condolences because death is an event that universally evokes sorrow. Sorry, I meant to read this about Pandita's explanation. Looks like Pan, Pan, Panda, Panda, Panda Atma Vishaya Buddhihi Yeshante Panditaha. Panda is also self-knowledge. The one who has the self-knowledge is a Pandita. Oh, Atma Vishaya Buddhihi Yeshante Panditaha. Okay, got it. Okay. You guys want me to repeat anything? Please let me know. I think we read this all yesterday, but we are repeating all of it. Oh. Sorry. Bear with me with my pages causing too much problem here. The second man wanted to see his family, and the doctor. Okay. So where was I reading? I moved. Okay.
There's an option for you to make it single page.
Yeah, I did. Source of sorrow is the one we are reading, right? Let me see. I'm sorry. I keep on going back and forth on this thing. Hold on. I can make a single page, but the single page when I'm making it, the next page is not coming through. Okay. So to use an analogy, Why the death was used here. That's the next page. To use an analogy for why death was used here, a boxer who wants to become the heavyweight champion of the world has only to fight one person, the present champion. All he has to do is knock him out and he will become the world champion. Similarly, if death is one event which inevitably evokes sorrow in all, with reference to which the wise do not grieve, certainly the loss of hair or loss of relationship or marriage will not be the cause for sorrow. Finally, death is particularly appropriate even to use in a discussion about sorrow and its removal when what is to be discussed is Atma, which is not subject to death. Krishna told Arjuna that anything he might look upon as a source of sorrow was not, nor would any wise man look upon anything as a source of sorrow, because there is no source of sorrow. Yeah, we read all this yesterday. Source of sorrow. What is that? What is it that can cause you sorrow? There can be only two sources, yourself, Atma, or source other than yourself. So, source other than yourself, Anatma. So, one is the two sources, yourself, Atma, or the source other than yourself is Anatma. If Atma is the source of sorrow, then there is no problem. You will always be sad because sadness is your nature, your svabhava. In fact, when you are sad, you will be very happy because to be sad is your nature. A restless monkey is a healthy, happy monkey because restlessness is its nature. A quiet monkey is a problem and should be cause for concern. If you are taking care of a monkey who suddenly becomes very quiet, do not think he has become a sadhu. He has become a sadhu and is meditating. He definitely has a problem and may require attention. Similarly, what is natural to you cannot be a source of sorrow. If sorrow is our own nature, if sorrow is our own nature, then we have no cause for sorrow at all. We should all be happy being sad. Thus, if Atma is the source of my sorrow, then sadness is not a problem. Since sadness is a problem, we must analyze whether it is the Atma or the Anatma that is the source of our sadness. This means that either the world that you come across is the source of your sorrow, or you yourself are its source. In other words, you are a source of sorrow to yourself. Therefore, we have to analyze Atma and Anatma from this perspective too, in order to discover the source of our sorrow. This analysis is the sole subject matter of the Gita. Panditas are those who know the Atma and Anatma. If you know the Atma, then you naturally know the Anatma. Also, because what is not Atma can only be Anatma. So, if you know the Atma, then you naturally know the Anatma. Also, because what is not Atma can only be Anatma. Conversely, if you know what Anatma is, you will also know what Atma is. Therefore, knowing one implies knowing the other. Arjuna's grief was due to not knowing the difference between Atma and Anatma. That is, he did not have Atma Anatma Viveka. Knowing the difference Viveka resolves the problem. This verse identifies the subject matter of the Gita as Atma Anatma Viveka and states the result of such knowledge. Knowing themselves, the wise do not grieve. The Gita Shastra is the connection between the subject matter and the result in that it reveals what the Atma is. Okay, I'll go back here, this line again. This verse identifies the subject matter of the Gita as Atma Anatma Viveka and states the result of such knowledge. Knowing themselves, the wise do not grieve. The Gita Shastra is the connection between the subject matter and the result in that it reveals what the Atma is, thereby enabling one to become wise. And who is qualified for this knowledge? A qualified person is one who has a good degree of dispassion, vairagya, with reference to his or her likes and dislikes, and, and who has the desire for liberation, mumuksha. Here, Arjuna is qualified student and Krishna is the teacher. I think we read until this point, Dr. Brahmra. And I think probably I should, if anybody wants to talk about this, I think. A pragmatic view of this verse. This verse can be viewed from the standpoint of a pragmatist who has no belief in any scripture or its statements, or it can be viewed from the standpoint of a person who has faith, shraddha, in the survival of the soul after death. From the standpoint of a believer, astika, a follower of Veda. It can also be viewed from the standpoint of the vision of the Gita, the standpoint of Atma itself. So I'll read this paragraph one more time. This verse can be viewed from the standpoint of a pragmatist who has no belief in any scripture or its statements, or it can be viewed from the standpoint of a person who has faith, shraddha, in the survival of the soul after death. From the standpoint of a believer, astika, a follower of Veda. It can also be viewed from the standpoint of the vision of the Gita, the standpoint of Atma itself. So many standpoints that they're talking about. A practical person's standpoint is that any sorrow, if analyzed, has no legitimacy. Legitimate sorrow is sorrow that is commonly accepted. The question is there a sorrow which can be called legitimate? For a simple, practical person, if sorrow produces a result that you want, then it is legitimate for you. Otherwise, it is not. That we all have sorrow is not in question for the practical person. So again, that we all have sorrow is not in question for the practical person. But the point is that it does not produce any result. So legitimate sorrow is only can be accepted, it says, but there isn't anything called legitimate sorrow. So if you call legitimate, it has to be producing result. When a person is sad because someone very near and dear has died, what does this sadness produce? Does it alter the fact that one's friend is dead and gone? No. Sadness does not alter any fact. A woman is crying because someone has died. Crying, she gets up and lights the stove. Crying, she boils water and makes coffee. Crying, she adds milk and sugar. Crying, she drinks it. Nothing changes. Previously, she drank coffee, and now also she is drinking coffee. All that is new is the crying. She is not taking coffee to cry better. No fact is altered. From a pragmatist point of view, sorrow is not going to help you, and it certainly does not help the dead. If I am dead and gone, I have no problem. Even if I am dying, can I afford to be sad? The heart generally does not give up easily. It keeps trying even when there is pain, even when it misses beats, or even when one artery is gone. One artery is gone. It does not give up. However, when you become sad, the heart may think, the fellow is sad, this fellow is sad. Why should I continue to work? Because you have already decided it too will give up. The will also seems to have a way of moving the limbs and organs to make them tick. If the will is gone, if you are sad, the fighting system will necessarily give up. So there is a story about three men who, in the doctor's opinion, were dying of terminal diseases. The doctor, therefore, asked each of them what he wanted. The first man asked for a priest so that he could make his confession, and this was arranged. Second man wanted to see his family, and the doctor arranged this as well. When the third man was asked what he wanted, he replied, I want another doctor. This third man was practical and wanted to live. He had certain something about him that perhaps would make the heart try harder, because all the strength he had was required in order to live. He definitely could not afford to be sad. We have already seen that sadness with reference to someone who is dead produces no result in that it does not alter the fact. But shouldn't you be sad if someone is seriously ill? If you cry when you visit such a man, he will think he is going to die, although all the doctors may have been telling him that his condition is not serious and that he should not worry. The doctors may even have some hope, but your crying is going to make him doubt what the doctors have been saying. In other words, he will read his own death in your crying and then give up. Anyone who is ill requires strength and therefore cannot afford to be sad. So, anyone who is ill requires strength and therefore cannot afford to be sad. Instead of crying, you have to boost the person's morale in whatever way you can, which in turn can boost his or her strength. So the wise do not grieve. That's what we are trying to do here. And then pragmatic view of this verse. I'll read this part. Just a second. Okay. Grief is never legitimate. Thus, crying does not alter the fact that the dead have gone. So, grief is never legitimate. Yeah. So, we talked about legitimate sorrow, but now it's never legitimate. Grief is never legitimate. Thus, crying does not alter the fact that the dead have gone and dying do not require your crying. If you yourself are dying, crying is also useless. Why then this sorrow? Sorrow still takes place. It is born of confusion, aviveka. It is born of confusion, aviveka. What is subject to change will change. Okay, what is subject to change will change. Why then sit and say they are changing, they are changing? Changing is a changing. One who dies is one who is subject to death. Therefore, one who will die dies, and one who will not die does not die. What is not subject to death will always remain. And what is subject to death will not. Death may come earlier than expected, but it is always expected, although we do not know which breath will be the last. Grief, therefore, is never legitimate. From the practical person's standpoint, sorrow is useless. And for the one who believes that the jiva continues after the death of the body, sorrow is also not a problem because the jiva itself does not die. I'll read this one more time. Grief, therefore, is never legitimate. From the practical person's standpoint, sorrow is useless. And for the one who believes that the jiva continues after the death of the body, sorrow is also not a problem. Okay, so who believes also, and then who doesn't believe also. The one who believes the jiva, that the jiva continues after the death of the body, and sorrow is also not a problem because the jiva itself does not die. And twofold teaching methodology. So before I go through that one, so please you share your thoughts on this. So the practical point of this verse, right? Yesterday you read up to why you worry. Yeah. So this practically thinking about it's why someone feels sad or sorrow following the death of the person. Is it legitimate? Whether it's really going to help the dying or the person who's dead? You know, their kind of discussion is going on here. And then they gave this example of three different patients, um, and where they're talking about because of the crying, that person feels sad, that sick person cannot afford to be sad because that will make his health even worse. So here that they gave the example of three different patients and the doctor. And then one patient gives up and saying, what, I want the priest to come. He thinks he's the end of life. And the other one says he wants to see the family. The other one says, the third one says that he wants to another doctor. So he has the will of wanting to live. So he want to get another opinion about his health and see he would get better. So that person who wants to live probably will make it. So he cannot afford to be sad. So that's what's being talked about, what sadness can do. And then there were the grief about that, also never legitimate when the person uh, dies or dead, dying or dead. Nothing is changing. That person to be crying and doing everything as the same as before, which is really true, right? We still eat food. Maybe so everything is going on, but that person who left being missed or things like that. But then again, nothing is changed as per this, how they're trying to prove this grief is never legitimate.
Hari Om, Dr. Mara.
Mhm. You want me to
Uh,
read anything?
no, it's just one. I was thinking like why the three reactions were there for the three people. So
Mm-hmm.
what is the base of their thinking?
Mm-hmm.
They are thinking differently, no? So
Right.
what is the reason they are structured so, or they uh, like what is the root cause that they are thinking differently?
Because for the, he said they all have terminal diseases, right? They
Yeah.
all have terminal diseases. One feels this is the end, or he feels I don't want to live anymore. And yeah, that they take
But
it negatively in terms of that, or they might have said, oh, I've done everything in my life. I don't think I need to
no.
live.
My question is like, why are they thinking differently? Is it because they are structured so that the inherent properties they are having, they are taking decision according to that,
True.
or
Yeah,
is
because
the
of their
sadness playing some like sadness is playing some different role, like how people are reacting? That sadness uh, is the reason that they are reacting, but they are reacting differently. That was the question. So,
true.
is it because of their
Because
inherent
in their,
which?
first of all, the true nature is, nature meaning the guna, the guna meaning like, one is that subhava or guna, you can say. Somebody could be, that is bottom line, right? Sometimes people don't thinking positively and they want to fight it. There are different way of looking at it, and also the person may not have all the information they need, or they didn't ask questions further, about to know more about their prognosis and things like that. They come to a conclusion by themselves
So
from the pain,
basically,
from the
intellect is also playing intellect and their inherent properties.
inherent properties, and also how
Both
they
are,
feel themselves, right?
yeah,
If they're
yeah.
suffering a lot, they want to go away, free of that suffering. That also plays a role. People who are internal problems, like the pain, or mostly pain, and then if they know already the disease is spread, there isn't much going to happen, but nobody can predict. That's what they said, right? The Yama can come anytime. Nobody knows when the last breath is. But you're not going to sit and grieve, oh, when is the next breath is my last breath, last breath. You're not going to think about it. But somebody who is very depressed or very, of course, the physical problem also can play in a role, or mental problem also can play in a role. Like you said, the intellect and then vivek also, um, uh, that has a big role. That's what I think. But for the thing, the the teaching of this verse, even before this paragraph is told, that no one to grieve, right? You don't have to grieve because you're not dying. You don't, because if you have that Atma and Atma Viveka, the death is for that Anatma only, right? It's not, the Atma is not dying, so you're not going to grieve about it. So that was.
Dr. Mara, can you read
Uh-huh.
the few lines before the story, before this
Before
example?
the story, sure.
Yeah, I think that the whole point was to say that a person um, has the will to live. It
Right,
was, I think this example was given to show
right,
that even on the deathbed, the will to fight is still there. The will to live
exactly.
is there. So they
Yeah,
gave
yeah,
two examples, extremes. So saying one person wanted the priest, another wanted the family to come,
yeah. So that's why
saying they had already
initially
given
they
up. I
want,
mean, they,
right,
yeah,
they gave up. That's the main thing. And then Dr. Savita is asking what makes them to decide that to give up or they want to the bill. Actually, here I'll read this paragraph where you would understand this one. Um, from a pragmatic point of view, sorrow is not going to help you, and it certainly does not help the dead. If I am dead and gone, I have no problem. Even if I'm dying, can I afford to be sad? The heart generally does not give up easily. It keeps trying even when there is pain, even when it misses beats, or even when one artery is gone. It does not give up. However, when you become sad, the heart may think, this fellow is sad. Why should I continue to work? Because you have already decided it too will give up. See this point, like what Dr. Brahma is saying. He's so it does not give up in the beginning, and however you become sad, that part of the feeling sad itself makes the person the heart may think that why I should continue to work, because you have already decided it too will give up. The will also seems to have a way of moving the limbs or organs to make them tick. If the will is gone, if you're sad, the fighting system will necessarily give up. So that will makes a big difference. Somebody wants to survive and then positive thinking. Anyway, I'll continue reading, Dr. Brahmara. So this is the paragraph before that story. There is a story about three men who, in the doctor's opinion, were dying of terminal diseases. The doctor therefore asked each of them what he wanted. The first man asked for a priest so that he could make his confession, and this was arranged. And the second man wanted to see his family, and the doctor arranged this as well. When the third man was asked what he wanted, he replied, I want another doctor. The third man was practical and wanted to live. So that's the difference here that between those people. He had a certain something, he had certain something about him that perhaps would make the heart try harder, because all the strength he had was required in order to live. He definitely could not afford to be sad. So the combination of things right here, that sadness, feeling
yeah.
sad, and the will to live, or if they give up the will, they don't want to live, then that's also not making the.
And this was very evident in COVID, no? People
Mhm.
who fought, people who
Survive.
were not anxious, people who
Mhm.
were not scared of death, and people who wanted to fight and live, they lived.
Right.
But people who were overcome by fear and anxiety and worry, they
Mm-hmm.
passed on. So of
Yeah.
course, that is one element. Maybe it all is multifactorial, prarabdha involved. But then here, the point that was raised here is that when usually there is a will to fight. usually.
Yeah.
And if you remember, I'm not sure how many of us have read Reader's Digest. In
Mm-hmm.
that, they've given life stories where the will to fight, the will to live
Yeah.
keeps people surviving. Breast cancer survivors, all of them, they have one common tenet is that they have that will to live.
Yeah. The same thing like
It,
when people go hiking by themselves, they
right.
fall and broke their leg, but they somehow want to, like keep all their energy going and try to get somebody's attention to rescue them.
Yeah.
Same thing, you read it all the time. Like in the winter time, people go and had avalanche or got stuck in the snow, and they found him weeks later, alive. So that happens, like because of their will, not giving up.
Maybe it is an element of, I mean, answering Dr. Savita's question, is
Yeah,
between pessimist and optimist. An
that's right.
optimist is one who sees an opportunity and the possibility of of life, of
Mm-hmm.
continuing to live. Whereas a pessimist is someone who sees the darker side and tends to give up very easily. So probably it's the mindset that decides that uh, how
Yeah,
they chose their three different things. But
Gurudev
then
always
this the will to live is inherent not just in humans. It is a natural thing in every animal. The fight to survival, if you look at how even an ant that is drowning in water is trying hard to to keep afloat and
mm,
live. So that will to live is there inherent in all of us. But then I think based on our personality, based on how we see life, if you can categorize ourselves as pessimists or optimists, that will that will determine how far how with what will you tend to fight.
yeah. Even the thoughts, our thoughts always like that's why we keep saying ourselves to have that positive thoughts. Like,
Yeah.
but what the more thoughts that we have, uh, that's what's going to happen. Like the prapancham, whatever it gives you back to you is what you're thinking. So
Because that is what Gurudev says. Sorry, please continue.
no, I also see that even in your own experience, you see it, right? If we're thinking negatively, you feel so down, the people, how they ask you simple question, how are you? Oh, I feel great, or I feel fine, like people may have some problem, but they still say it because, they want to be that way, not feeling okay, I'm not well or something like that. They don't say everything is fine. um, how is your family? Oh, everybody's doing well, like that. The more we say it, that comes out, like happens. Anyway, sorry, but
Correct. No, which
yeah.
is true.
Yeah.
There are some people, it's called the sequel concept, where
Mhm.
you, like you rightly said, when you ask them, you say, although they may be going through something, but they're saying,
Right.
yes, I'm feeling very good.
Mm.
You're sowing the seed of goodness, of positivity. That's what exactly what Gurudev says. He says
Right.
it, why do some people achieve, some don't? Is because you've sown the seed of negativity. If you say, oh, I'm always like this, I always not get what I want, I'm always a failure, you're
Mm.
actually sowing that. And
Right.
every thought that goes into it, you're nurturing that negative seed. On the other hand, if you sow the seed of positivity,
Mhm.
that is what is going to grow. That is why it says when you see lack, only lack increases. But if you
Yeah.
say, I'm abundant, I've got all that I want, abundance grows in your life. So it's all about the mindset.
Right. Yeah, like the more we in this way we are reading, right? When you say good things to people, like you wish them or bless them or whatever, we always say God bless you or whatnot. But still, if you say uh, good things to them, just because you're selling good things to them, it not go away from you. Some people have that kind of an attitude, right? But the more you say good things to other people, that actually comes back to you as well. So that's how it's been told. And then the more you smile and talking to people also uh, bring goodness, like always speaking with that smile and all that, very positive things, more positive attitude as well as the thoughts, not talking negatively about it. Even if there's negative things, you don't point out so much in that way. They say it could be better this way or something like that.
With reference to that example given, no, Gurudev always says, strong mind can carry the weak body, but that weak mind cannot even carry the strong body.
Hmm.
So, if the mind is strong, then everything is possible.
Right.
And when
It
you
just
say, no, you are smiling, so many, Gurudev says, for smiling, so less muscles or whatever that is,
mm,
are used, but when you are sad, so many muscles you are using, and how the brain shrinks and all that.
yeah.
Yes, told also that.
Yeah, he always says, keep smiling, smiling. That actually it makes that hormone to secrete. That when you open your muscles, like when you're smiling face, even you don't want to smile, you're keeping that your mouth a little bit and the smiling face, smiley face. That
Mm.
helps
Mm.
that hormone like dopamine or whatever that
That
secrete.
happy and meditated mind also gives the high prana, means prana is very very high
Right.
also, and the doubt doesn't come. That's
Mhm.
so positive things, means then the thinking may be change. Mm.
Right. So again, after that last paragraph where it says, when you visit a person who is sick or not feeling well or whatever, you don't go and cry to them. Even if they're not having any issue, the doctor says you will be better, you'll get better, and go home. The minute you see them, you start crying. That will make them feel bad. Bad in the sense they think something is wrong. The doctor didn't tell me the whole truth. Maybe they told something to this person, something like that. So then that person need more strength to recover from whatever they're going through. That because that the crying or sad faced person, it makes them sad. The more they sad, then they are not going to recover fast. That's the whole idea here. So it's one of those things we have to learn also, not to be like, you don't have to show that emotion kind of thing. That's what the wise, right? Like you're not too happy or too sad, just to be that equanimously there and giving them positive, uh, uh, talking something nice. I know today is probably Sunday for you guys. Not many people are here today, right? Because of the class or whatever. Ah, okay. Shall I move forward? What time is it? Oh, 8 o'clock already. Hmm. Shall I put? Shall we end here, Dr. Ramra? Today is grief. Grief is never legitimate. So, anybody want to take a shot at it? Maybe we have to start from here. Grief is never legitimate. Twofold teaching methodology. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go to the video. See, I can share that one. Okay. I don't have the separate video for this. Okay.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
I'm trying to put this
You close this this
Huh?
PDF, then you close this PDF, and then there's a
Yes.
second PDF, yeah, for that meditation. Then you open that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it- You can hear it now?
Not yet.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.
Is it the negative aspect release you. We're going to stay with you, right? Yeah. Yes. The tape is finished or not? Let me do like ending sloka with Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I think this thing is kind of partly stopped. I think. Sorry, I got this video ended earlier, I think. I'll figure it out tomorrow. Jai Gurudev.